With all the mechanical issues fixed on my cheap 1995 Dodge Viper, I can finally take this thing out and enjoy it. I'm sure a lot of you, if you're around my age, you had a poster of this car or a model of it when you were a kid and dreamed of owning a Viper, like me. Now, a lot of times when you buy one of these poster cars, they're pretty disappointing to drive in person. You don't want to meet your heroes. But in the case of this Viper, I'm happy to report that there are no disappointments. There is so much to love about this Viper, but there are a few flaws, and given this car's reputation, they could be fatal flaws. You could die. Now, the first thing I love about this Viper is the ease of maintenance. Unlike a lot of exotic cars of this time, Italians especially, the engines don't have to be dropped out every 3 to 5 years for a belt service. Really, there's no reason to do that at all because the hood, the entire nose, comes off with just a few bolts. And the engine, 400 horsepower V10, it's a good old-fashioned American pushrod engine, so it's super easy to work on. I was able to take the heads off myself. The Wizard was able to put them back together, and I didn't screw it up that much. The whole job to fix that and a few other things was less than $2,000. Try and get anyone to look at your Ferrari for less than $2,000. It's not going to happen. Now, once this car was put back together, I got to take it on a shakedown cruise, and I noticed the car was kind of overheating again. Uh-oh. It actually was fine when I was moving, but then when I was stopped at the light, the temperature would creep up, and then the auxiliary fans weren't kicking on. This turns out to be another really easy fix. These things electrically are very simple as well. It took a Wizard all of 5 minutes to find that the coolant temperature sensor wasn't sending out the right signal. He replaced it, and I was back in business. Now, the cooling system is apparently the weak spot on these Vipers. A lot of people are upgrading them, especially if they're going to track day it, but this one seems fine now in the dead of winter. That may change come summer when I start driving it and if I want to track it or something. And these Vipers were built to be high-performance machines, but what they're probably best remembered for is the look. Personally, I love the early ones with the 3-spoke wheels and the side pipes, even though it'll burn your leg hair off. And from every angle, this car is gorgeous, just gorgeous. It's so rare that a car that comes out as a concept actually gets built like the Viper and looks so close to the original concept. Usually by the time they make production, they're so compromised and modified from the original vision that it looks nothing like what we had hoped, but that's not the case with this Viper. But still, there are some weird things with this car that you'd think they would have taken care of when they went into full production. It's kind of hard to believe this thing was an actual mass-produced car. So when you look around closely at this Viper, there's a lot of exposed wiring and computers that you can see. On the passenger side, Gil, you just look inside and there's a computer. And inside it looks really cheap, and there's a lot of generic, cheap Chrysler parts in there that you would have found in a Neon or a Stratus or Intrepid. Also, there is no security with owning a Viper whatsoever. Anybody can get into this car through these zip-through windows. There's no exterior door latch on these first couple of year cars, and you just open it from the inside. There's no lock. Same with opening the hood. You access the engine from the outside of the car. So anybody could go and open the hood of your Viper if they knew what they were doing, and I don't know what I'm doing. There we go. Absolutely no security at all. And look at that crazy engine. Then there's this ridiculous roof that they decided to put on this thing. They call it the toupee because it looks so out of place and embarrassing on the car and really doesn't fit all that well. Also, these windows, definitely an afterthought. They are right out of the Jeep Wrangler with half doors. And when I sit inside this thing, I can't see. First of all, there's the toupee, which in my case, it actually is a toupee because when I sit up straight, I am poking through the roof. And then when I close the door, you can't see me. And that's because this window is so low with this canvas that I have to duck down to look at what I'm pulling out in front of. It's so dangerous in a car that's already very dangerous. Now, obviously, the Viper was meant to be driven without any of this stuff. You just take it all off. There we go. Scratch the paint. But even with the roof off, I find it really uncomfortable to drive. And that's because there's a lot of wind buffeting, which is weird because it's meant to be driven with the top down. Now, I know the solution to this would be wear a hat, but I don't like hats, so I ended up spending $3,000 for a hardtop setup that the Wizard has just finished installing for me. I spent a lot of money for a hat substitution, but it's worth it. The Wizard, you have it. That's a nice hat you have there. Let's get this thing on here. So you've already done a little work here with the latches.
Yep, it's part of the kit that came with it.
Oh, and I went for the double bubble top. And that's because it has extra headroom. That way I don't look like Big Bird when I'm driving this thing around. Obviously, it still needs to be painted. I'm going to get that taken care of next week. They also come with matching plexiglass windows, which you can see the shape of this roof is a little bit higher to where I can actually see out of it, but it still slides in just like the old one. Lovely. And then I have a little lock here with this sliding plexiglass window, and then I can close it and lock it. Actually have some semblance of security in this car, which is nice. But really, I got this just so I could drive it and actually be comfortable, which Viper and comfort don't really go together, but kind of is now with this car.
Not when you're like this.
Oh, you have no idea how nice it is to be able to see out the side now and not hit my head on the roof. This top is just perfect if it didn't have that rattle. Now these windows, I mean, this is the best you're gonna get since you can't roll it down, but it does have some drawbacks, as I will demonstrate to you right now. Hi there, I'd like a cheeseburger Happy Meal with ketchup only. Is the toy Spider-Man right now? Okay, that'll be it. Thank you. Hi. She didn't say hello back. All right. Thank you. That wasn't so bad. Hello?
Hi.
Oh. Come on. Ah. Oh. Now, for everybody wondering what a Dodge Viper drives like, it's kind of like a bigger, really powerful Miata, which is what people have always wanted. They want a Miata with more horsepower, with some more pizzazz, and that's the Viper. But I'm not sure if that's what people really want, because this thing is an animal to keep on the road, especially with the cold roads, the cold, old tires. This thing is constantly struggling for traction, which is never a problem with a 100 horsepower Miata. This is a car with the current government and safety mandates that could never, ever be built again. There's just no way, not in big numbers anyways. And even if Chrysler was able to do it, they would be sued out of existence from all the idiots that would buy these cars and crash them, like so many have. There's so many wrecked salvage title Vipers out there, or ones that just got scrapped and the motors put in hot rods. They'd have to install an infotainment screen just to have a liability waiver come on every time you hit the ignition. Before it starts, you'd have to agree to that liability waiver so they wouldn't get sued out of existence. Woo! Now, I still have a little bit of work to do here. Obviously, that rattle is going to drive me insane. I don't know if it's a defective latch or this needs more adjustment. We've already adjusted it once. But also, the alignment on this car is a little bit off, and the tires are out of balance from sitting so much. Still love it. Still love this thing. Don't get me wrong. Oh, that is so good. So good. And the final thing that I love about this car is the incredible value. You can find an early RT10 Viper for under 30 grand. There's several listed online at autotrader.com/oversteer, which link below is my article. And for that, you get an automotive icon that's also super fun to drive. I personally think these cars are way undervalued, and I expect in a few years they'll go way up. Fingers crossed, because if that happens, this would be a rare win in my department where I actually come out ahead on a car. And unlike a lot of exotics that go up in value, this one doesn't cost a lot to insure and maintain. Still, if I don't end up crashing it like so many others have, well, I'll be doing really well with this thing. Thank you for watching.